New Orleans Saints versus Denver Broncos betting preview. Ladies and gentlemen, today in this video, we're going to go over some of the betting options for Thursday Night Football with the New Orleans Saints and the Denver Broncos. Try and find some winners, at least talk through it, try and kind of rationalize at least what we're going to see. And even if we don't, find a winner per se, it'll help you find a winner. If you don't want to bet on what I'm talking about, you can go through the menu and use some of the game script stuff. We're talking about some of the information and find yourself legs for your parlays, however you're going to do it. All right, so the first thing we need to do here is we need to figure out what is the game script. Okay, what do we expect to see from both the Denver Broncos and the New Orleans Saints? It's difficult for the Saints because we have one data point. We have one sample size. The good part is because of the unique situation with Spencer Rattler, is probably going to be the exact same because it's a short week. There's not going to be that much time to change anything. There's not that many people. There's not that many players. There's only so many people that can actually get the ball, right, on the Saints offense because Rashid Shaheed's out, Chris Olave's out, so Taysom Hill's probably going to be out. So we can kind of really hone in on what we think the Saints will do. And we have to kind of look at last box score. And the first thing that sticks out to me is the target share for Bub Means and Alvin Kamara. Now, the Alvin Kamara target share, a lot of that was, I think, at the end of the game. But the Bub Means target share is significant. He had 8 targets, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. And that's with Rashid Shaheed getting 7 receptions, or 7 targets. Rashid Shaheed is not going to be there. Chris Olave is not going to be there. So it looks to me like pretty obviously Rattler is going to target the tight ends, Bub Means, and dump it off to Alvin Kamara if he has to. All right. So we can already go and take a look at the player props here. Let's take a look at Bub Means. So Bub Means, now this is awkward because if you're the book, it's like, how the hell do we price this? We don't know anything about Bub Means, but the idea that he's not going to get, and remember, Patrick Surtain is not playing, so that benefits our receivers. So 3.5 is the number at Caesars and BetMGM. BetMGM with plus 135. 2.5 at Bet365 is minus 185. So they're expecting this thing to land 3. Really hard for me to imagine Bub Means' target share drops off that much if you remove, you're talking about 7, 8 targets up for grabs. And the Saints are underdogs, so the Saints theoretically should be throwing because they're theoretically behind at the game. Hard for me to imagine that Bub Means doesn't get over 3.5. His receiving yards, 32.5. Again, if we're expecting him to get 4 or 5 catches, that number seems low. Him to score a touchdown is, we'll call it 4 to 1. So I would be looking, these numbers are kind of crazy too, but I would be looking at his receptions. I'd be looking at his receiving yards for sure. If we look at the tight ends, so let's go to the tight ends. So we just talked about them a little bit. So Foster Moreau is 1.5, all juiced like crazy. Juwan Johnson, he is 2.5. Juwan got 3 targets. Foster got 2 targets. I think Rattler's going to have to throw. That's the big thing. I know he threw 40 times last game, but Alvin, they can't run the football. The Saints cannot run the ball. So if you are a team that cannot run the ball and you're supposed to be losing, and the Broncos have a good defense, when you factor all that in, let's see what they gave up last week. So last week the Chargers ran for 3.4 yards a rush. I would assume the Chargers are a much better running offense than us. Let's take a look at this. All right, let's go to offensive DVOA. And let's see what the Chargers are rush defense. So the Chargers on rush defense are 16. Okay, so they're not as good as I thought they were. So they're the 16th best rushing offense. Okay. Is there another comparable? Let's see who Denver played. We're just kind of walk through this, show y'all how I kind of game script these out. The Raiders, I know they can't be good. I mean, none of these teams probably are very good. But if we look at they smoked the Bucs, so it's a little different because they were up in this game. And the Buccaneers were, like in this one, the Bucs averaged 5.7 yards rush. Granted, it's only on 16 carries. That includes a 32-yard rush, so that kind of messes that up a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to quantify that. But the Chargers not being able to run the football doesn't bode well for us. Like, it doesn't bode well for Alvin Kamara. We faded Alvin Kamara's numbers last week. We said on here to take his unders. That hit without easily. Jesus, they're hanging another 69.5, 68.5, 67.5. I understand why they have them 17.5, 16.5. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't see how you can do it. On top of the fact that Kamara's hurt, I just don't see the world where Alvin Kamara gets 18 carries or 17 carries. He's averaging 3 yards a carry. Let's get the old calculator out. That just seems like so much. Unless the Saints are winning, obviously. But again, the Saints are 3-point dogs. They're supposed to be getting drug in this game. So, they're at 69.5, right? Yeah, 69.5. 16.5. Okay. So if we do real quick, let's say Alvin averages, let's say 70 yards. So if he averages 3.5 yards a carry, it's going to take him 20 carries to get it. If he averages 3.8 yards a carry, let's see, 70 divided by 3.8, 18.5 carries. He would have to average, if he averages 4 yards a carry, it would take him 17.5 carries. So I just don't see the world where Alvin Kamara has 18 carries or 17 carries. Let's see, 17. Let's see here. 70 divided by 17. So if he has 4.11 yards per carry on 17 carries, he'll get to 70 yards. No way. No way. I don't see that at all. More than likely, I'm going to be playing his rushing yards and rushing attempts under again. Unless you think the Saints are going to win. If you think the Saints are going to be up in the game and just grinding out the clock, then okay. But otherwise, I don't know how you don't take his unders. What's his receptions? His receptions are 4.5, 5.5 at Fanatics. 4.5 is kind of a heavy number because, like I said, I don't think he really caught passes until the very end there. Let's take a look. I think it was like the last couple of drives. Let's see. 1, 2. That's Mims, Wilson. So I guess he's not playing here. That's something else you got. So he had 2 on that one. He had, okay, so, yeah, so Alvin had 3 catches, right? Is that what he had, 5 catches? He had 3 catches going into the final drive and caught 2 more. I know he had the target share, but I don't know if I'd recommend 4.5. That seems kind of scary. Because I'm just so worried this number's inflated because of that last drive. You could argue like 6 targets, but even 6 targets, you need 5. And he did drop a couple passes. So Alvin did have some drops. So this number should probably be Yeah, if you factor in the drops, I guess. If you factor in the drops, then maybe Kamara's receptions are the move. I would certainly have his receptions over his rushing yards or rushing attempts. No doubt about that. Now, if we look at, let's see what else we got here. So, what's Rattler's attempts? What do we think his attempts are? Let's go to Rattler's attempts. So, pass attempts, 28.5. Okay. I mean, hard not to like that too. Yeah, I would lean over there. His interceptions. Got to think about interceptions. Do they even have? Yeah. So for him to throw a pick, you're looking at -120, something like that. Maybe worth a look. Same with Bo Nix. Both of them to throw picks would probably be worth a look there. Rushing yards for Rattler, interesting. I've seen both sides of this. He ran 4 times for 27 yards with a 16-yard longest run. So maybe if you're expecting him to run, you go with like longest rush. Is that even his longest rush is 10.5? Maybe you go with that. Maybe you go with this 10.5 as the longest rush instead of this. But I mean, as far as the Saints, like that's kind of what you're looking at. You're kind of looking at who's Rattler going to get the ball to. Seems like him and Bub Means have a pretty good understanding. So I would definitely be looking at him. If you're looking at the Broncos, like what do the Broncos do? How do they play this? So, okay, this isn't the game I wanted to look at. So if you go to a game, like, all right, so another way you have to do this is you got to make sure it's similar game scripts. Now, the game scripts aren't always right, but in this one, they're expected to win. Okay, so you really need to look at what they do when they're up, what they do when they're winning. And that doesn't mean they're going to win, but just we're trying to, theorize what we're going to see here. So if you go to a win, a tight win, like the Jets is a little weird because it's such a bad game, 10-9. I don't think anyone's expecting that. But even in this game, were the Broncos up this whole game? No, the Jets were up actually. Okay, so again, that's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a weird one because now you have the Jets are up in the game. The Broncos are being shut out into the third. Let's try another one. Let's try, what do the Raiders look like? So the Raiders are up, then the Broncos were up. It's a close game at half. Okay, this isn't too bad. So Bo Nix throws it 27 times for 206 yards. He runs it 8 times. And his targets go to Javonte Williams. Okay. All right, and then so let's look at another one. Then if we go to like the last game, oh my God. So if we go to the last game against the Chargers, I understand it's a loss, but Bo Nix carries for 6 carries. He throws the ball 33 times. Again, it's 23-0, so you got to kind of toss that out. His target share is going to Javonte Williams again. Who the hell is Devon Valet? All right, he's a wide receiver. Okay, let's see. So now what we're starting to see is a pattern that Bo Nix likes targeting his running backs. Let's go to this game against the Steelers. It's a little early, though. You want to see more recent stuff with a rookie quarterback. Bo Nix throws 35 times against the Steelers, but again, it's 13-0. He runs 4 times. His target share, Greg Dolchik, I'm guessing that's the tight end. Yeah, tight end, so you would expect that. But in this game, he targets Javonte Williams 5 times. So Javonte Williams is getting a ton of work out of the backfield as far as passing. So if we look at Bo Nix rush attempts, because it looks like he is willing to run 5.5. Yeah, I'd probably lean the over there. It looks like Bo Nix has been, look at the game log. So he's run 6, 8, 5, 9, 4, 5. So he's run for the least amount he ran was 4. And he's gone over what was this at? 5.5. So he would have to get 6. So 1, 2. Okay. So 3 of his last 4, but he didn't get that early on. So he's been running more lately. And the Saints do kind of give up that to quarterbacks. Saw Baker do it. What's his long? This is another one where you probably look at the longest rush. Yeah. Yeah, 11.5 is kind of far. I don't hate the rushing attempts. I don't hate the rushing attempts at all. So Javonte Williams is a guy who looks like is getting targeted quite a bit. 2.5 receptions seems crazy low. Crazy low. That seems really low. Yeah, I think Javonte Williams, I mean, he got 11 carries last. Oh, this is against ESPN's killing me. So let's see. Javonte, what was the. So Javonte Williams got 6 carries and 6 targets. McLaughlin is the other back who can steal touches from Javonte. He only had 3 carries and 2 targets. So 8 targets to running backs. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to take Javonte over 2.5 is crazy low. Bet MGM, that was like the move right there. Man. So if we go to the Broncos game now, when they're winning, so against the Bucs, and they're smoking the Bucs, 20-7. I mean, not really, but they're winning. So when they're winning, I mean, Bo Nix still threw it 36 times. So they really don't run the ball. I mean, they really don't. Like, they're willing to let Bo Nix let this thing rip. I mean, Bo Nix, it's 14-0, 20-7, and they're just like, yeah, keep throwing it, keep slinging it. And here he kind of targeted his wide receivers. He targeted Courtland Sutton 11 times. It's kind of an anomaly. Kind of weird. The Broncos were injured in that game, like I said, though. So I'd be looking at Javonte Williams overs. I'd be looking at, especially because, you know, like we know that the Saints take care of number 1 wide receivers pretty well. So I would assume it's going to be a lot of checkdowns because of that. So I like Javonte. Okay, and then the actual game. So if we look at the full game, so we're starting to see some threes pop. Okay, we're starting to see some threes pop. If we go ahead and just look at VSiN also here, go to the VSiN's betting splits. So the betting splits, 58% of tickets are on the Saints. 54% of the handle is on Denver. You want that to be inverse if you're a Saints fan. You want the handle to be on your side, not the bets. So that's not a good sign for the Saints. The money has moved, and then as far as like same situation here, the total 70%, 67% of the tickets, 53% on the under, which means that's good looking for the under. And then you've got, I mean, the money's moving, the market is moving with the money. A majority of the money is on Denver, and we have seen this line continually tick up all week. And now we're seeing threes pop, including at Circa, the sharpest book in the world. So, you know, the threes out there, you know, DraftKings has a 3. It's like I said, Circa has a 3. I think you can only look, if we're looking at just the market trends, you can only look under. Now, it is interesting. You can't take the Broncos at 3, obviously. So I could only recommend the Saints at 3. The Saints 3 shaded towards, yeah, I mean, I think you have to take, I think you have to take the Saints plus 3. And especially with the total being so low, those points are even more valuable. So I think as far as the side, if you have to play it, I would play the Saints plus 3. It's a crazy number. All right, so if we look at the composite power ratings, so this is the basically like the sharps, how they power rank teams. So you can look at it. The standard deviation is how many points, or what you're looking at on the left is how many points that it's better than an average team. Okay, so that's like the Ravens are 6 points better than an average team, basically, on a neutral. The Saints composite is minus 4.7 points to an average team. The Broncos are minus 2.1. So in that situation, the Broncos are 2.5 points better, let's just say, than the Saints, but you have to factor in home field. Let's just give the Saints 2 points for home field. That's nowhere near +3. Okay. If we go to someone like Fez, so Fez has the Saints 5.5 points worse. He's the lowest on the Saints. He has the Saints as the 30th ranked team in the NFL. He has the Broncos as the 24th team, 2 points worse than an average team. So Fez has the Saints 3.5 points worse than the Broncos on a neutral. So you factor in the home field. So Fez, and Fez is sharp as hell. To Fez, this game should be like -1.5, -2. To be at 3 is crazy. I mean, if you have the highest Broncos guy is Massey Peabody. Massey Peabody has the Broncos 22nd. They have the Saints 29th. So Massey Peabody has this. So Massey Peabody's close. He's got these two teams 4 points off. Okay. So it should be. So he would have the Broncos -4 on a neutral. Again, you get 2 points. And then 2 points is being kind of generous because the Saints have one of the best home fields. So you could argue 2.5, but I'll say 2. That still only gets you to -2. So none of the rankings from unexpected, unpredictable, Massey Peabody, DVOA, Fez, none of them have this number where it is right now. So you kind of have to take the Saints if you're going to take a side. That's what I would recommend. So I think we have some pretty decent options out here, honestly. I think we have some pretty decent bets for a really weird game. I think if you're looking at Saints +3, if you're looking at the under, those correlate. If you're looking at Javonte Williams receptions, if you're looking at Bub Means receptions and receiving yards, if you're looking at Bo Nix rush attempts, Spencer Rattler longest rush, if you're looking at Alvin Kamara receptions, I think all that checks out. So I hope y'all learned a little something in this one. Let me know what you're betting on. Thank you very much. I'll be at the game, so of course follow my Twitter. I'll be live tweeting and whatnot during this fiasco. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.